Thy Future brings you another video. Today we are looking at the poem of civil rights leader and Muslim activist Malcolm X. So his career was a very controversial one. He went to prison when he was 20, and in his 20s itself he adopted Islam and joined the Nation of Islam. And at 30 he was released from prison, and thereafter for 9 years he's tried to spread Islam in America and worldwide. Also, during the last of those years he left Nation of Islam and became independent because he was disillusioned with the type of Islam the Nation of Islam was spreading, and then he adopted Sunni Islam. So let's see what type of man he really was. First of all, you would notice that the headline and the lifeline are separate at the commencement. This shows a person who is very confident, who is very extroverted, who when sometimes due to circumstances or due to personality always want to be independent and have independent views, have their own car, their own property from an early age. So this is a sign, and as I said, in 20s itself he adopted Islam and became successful, even though he was in prison, but he was very successful at that time as well. So this is also a sign of early success. We see that his headline and his heartline as his headline both are very straight, which shows he is very practical, very logical, and this also applied to his teachings. If we see that the most developed mount is the Apollo mount. So Apollo mount, it does represent art, but in his case it represents a person who is very good at public speaking. Because see, when the Apollo is developed, the Apollo means the art which is in front of the person. Like a writer or a director might not have a developed Apollo mount because he is behind the camera, but the person who is in front of it, in front of the screen, will have a developed Apollo mount like Malcolm X has. It also makes the person risky and daring. The second most developed is of course the upper mount of Mars, and Mars represents fire. It represents a person who is a soldier, who is a born fighter, who doesn't back down. So it's not surprised to see that these two are extremely developed mounts on his palm. What's even more interesting is that sometimes you see like activists or any other people of this type to have very puffy hand, like the hand will be puffy, it will be like very fat, or these phalanges will be very developed, the third phalanges. But here we see no development, no puffiness, nothing, which shows a person whose nature is very like a monk. Like he doesn't need a lot of things in his life to be happy. He can live a normal life, like just have food and water. So this shows that he was at heart a true person, like a true person who believed that humanity could be helped by Islam. As we see nowadays, there are many religious leaders, like 80% of them, activists and religious leaders, will have hands which are puffy, which shows they are doing it for money or for fame. But here there is no indication of such, which is very rare, and that's why no person like Malcolm X has been born yet. So we also see other features, which is the thumb, and the thumb is long, which comes as no surprise that the person who thinks with his mind will have a long thumb, or a person who will become a leader eventually will have a long thumb. We will see that the first phalange, which represents will, is very large. So it shows that the person is very stubborn, doesn't change his views. Like if he stayed with the Nation of Islam, maybe he could have lived a long life, because he was assassinated by them as well, and he was also earning a lot of money from them. But we see that he, as I said, he's a true leader. He doesn't like follow money. So that's why his willpower is a lot, because the will phalange is developed. So it also makes him quite stubborn, which is good or bad. Like it can be said it's both good and bad, which all, like if you see, the good thing was that he followed the true calling of Islam, but the bad of course for him was that he died due to the stubbornness. So we see that it's always a double-edged sword. The also more interesting is that if we see that the Jupiter mount is less developed. Now when you see the Jupiter mount to be developed, it shows a leader, a personality of a leader. It shows a person who is also very egotistical, very ambitious. So again, it's a double-edged sword. But his this mount being less means that at an early age he wasn't like sure, he was following people and especially when even in his 30s, in the start of his 30s, when he was with the Nation Islam, he was like promoting the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, not of himself. So it wasn't surprising to see that the Jupiter mount doesn't have that much spacing. Also that the first finger is short, like it's a bit low set, which again shows self-esteem issues, which led him to become a, like he was of course in a way a speaker, a leader and a promoter, but for an organization, and it took him time, like I think till the end of his 30s or mid 30s, to like become his own person. So if this, maybe if this finger was high set and maybe if this mount was developed, maybe he from a start he would have been independent in his pursuit of Islam. So we also see that the, not surprising, that the Mercury finger is quite long. So the Mercury finger represents intelligence, it represents speaking ability. The longer it is, the more the person is good at public speaking, which again is no surprise. We also see, as this Apollo mount was developed, we also see that this finger is quite long and is longer than the first finger, which shows again that the person is very risk taking, is very talkative, is like doesn't back down when he asserts his dominance. So that's very interesting to see. The heartline is very interesting. We see that it is long and ends under Saturn, which shows again that the person is very realistic, very practical. He helped a lot of people, that's true, but at like he helped by practical things. Like some people, they always think about helping people and don't do it, or are too sensitive to do it, but this person is not sensitive at all. He is very strong, and we see that the like this is the perfect heartline because it gives logic. But suppose it was like going here, so he would have been idealistic, maybe then he wouldn't have left the Nation of Islam. So there are a lot of like contradictory theories there. I don't know how like if he was married how many times, but there was one strong relationship in his life which led to a lot of children, because if you see there is one clear line. I wish the photo was better, but we can still see clear things. Like we can see here that there are many travel lines, and he traveled the world. When in his 30s he traveled the world spreading Islam. We also see an interesting, okay, so this is very interesting. First of all, if the fate line was clearer, I would say that I could read it, but we see that there is at least two lines here. So this shows that the person in his 30s, because when there are two lines, the fame and success is coming late. So the person becomes like good in two things, maybe in writing and speaking. So there were two talents, but overall he was better known as a speaker. So one line is stronger, which is the second line in the sun line. I wish I could see the fate line, but I can't from this picture, or we could know more about his personality. We also see, okay, now this will be a bit controversial, as I made a like video about this earlier as well, regarding death in palmistry on my other channel, Nisar Masoom. So here we see that first of all he died at 39. So I'm just going to give the age as 40 on the palm. We see that the headline, again this is just circumstantial, we see that the headline is ending at 40. We see that the lifeline has a gap. You see this notable gap at 40. So at 40, meaning he was assassinated. But again, it's just like circumstantial. I'm not saying that any way palmistry shows death. This, I'm really against this, and palmists who say that death can be shown on the palm, no it can't, but I'm just giving an example of like how a person can actually determine this. But no, it could be a change of lifestyle, because as I said, in his last years he changed his, what do you say, his allegiance. He left the Nation of Islam. So if you see here, the new line is starting, so that just means a change of lifestyle, a change of thought process, because see the line is continuing. If he was actually like dead shown on the palm, it would end here. So overall this was a good palm, this was a palm of a fighter, but I'm not surprised this person was assassinated, because he was a true believer. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you like it and share it, and I hope you have a very nice day.